the story of our world every day. Listen and your heart may open up. If ever you feel frightened of our world that's washed away, a mother is a mother, come to us. Women, 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 women. Women sew the fabric of our world every day. History of violence made it through. The stories that we share will live on, and so we say these truths are our gifts passed on to you. Women.
Welcome to tonight's hashtag 101 Night Show. I'm Lisa Leibow.
And I'm Julia Alvarez.
And we're the co-founders of the Scheherazade Project.
And we're here tonight in order to mark a very special day, the 100th anniversary of women earning the right to vote, a struggle that is still going on since not all of our sisters are able to access their right to vote or have been blocked out. So it's an ongoing struggle. And part of the reason that we've joined together with so many other women and advocates and helpers and supporters to ensure that we all continue this struggle started 100 years ago or marked 100 years ago legally, to ensure that we all continue enfranchising and empowering all of us.
Yes, and so this campaign, is showcasing such diversity in the voices of so many really beautiful and amazing women. And we want to make sure that those voices continue to do what we've been practicing really all along, and use their voices to that ballot box and vote one way or another, no matter what, this election day and the months leading up to it. As soon as a ballot's available, let's make sure that we vote. Not those old early and often jokes, but this time truly vote as early as it's possible for you to vote, so that we can make sure that we are all enfranchised and our votes count.
Remembering our amazing storyteller, Toni Morrison, and something she once said, that the function of freedom is to free someone else. This is very much the ground that the artists that have gathered together under the umbrella of the Scheherazade Project want to practice and encourage others to practice, that it's not just our freedom and our expression and our art that matters. The function of having those things is to free someone else and empower them. So it's art that has to go out on the streets, go into your communities, and help to make this happen for others that might not have access, resources to get them to voting places, help them make sure that their vote is counted and their voices are heard.
I hope that our audience will take this to heart, and that everybody really, I'll say it like I do in the other shows, like, go vote, everyone.
We can't say that enough. We can't say that enough. Lisa and I were talking beforehand about, I came to this country when I was 10, and I came from a dictatorship of 31 years, and votes there was just one candidate. Everything was rigged. People didn't really have the power to make change. And coming to this country and having the right to vote is just something I don't take for granted at all, because I see what can happen when people don't exercise that right. And it begins very small and very insidiously. Things are removed, certain rights, certain protections, and then you find yourself deep in a dictatorship in a country that you don't want to live in and that you have to flee from. So it's really important. It's a way also to honor our mothers, grandmothers, great grandmothers that did march and did risk and continue to do so. The women who are on the streets marching for Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, we're in this together. It is we the people, and we have to claim that, and that you claim that by voting.
Yeah, I agree. It's actually pretty exceptional that even though we're celebrating with this episode the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment that gave white women in this country the right to vote, it wasn't until 1965 that that Voting Rights Act was passed. And so I was born in 1966, and I am among the first women in this nation who were born into a time when presumably we were all enfranchised, you know, half or more of the population. But as we can see, right, we have to continue to struggle and aspire to a time when we truly all have our voices, and we're going to do it this time. Let's have the biggest voter turnout ever.
Right. And remember that it's not just voting in a new person in the White House, but it's our Congress, it's our Senate. We need to make some big changes, and anything you can do to empower and enthuse locally your communities. It would be a wonderful and important way to practice the art that needs to become activism. There's certain times and moments in history where it's not enough to just create the art. We have to make it walk the talk. And this, if there ever was a moment, it's now. This pandemic has revealed to all of us the huge inequities, people that were not really seeing it before, and we have to keep the light shining. And we do that by storytelling, by our art, but also by activism and voting.
The Scheherazade Project really can be, an impetus for change and continue to bring together communities and allow us to listen to voices that perhaps some people don't listen to, because it's given in the form of entertainment, in a sense. I mean, these stories, they will open hearts, they will open minds, they build empathy, they make us feel and understand experiences that we have not personally had on our own, and stand in someone else's shoes, if you will. So
right.
I've been watching what's happening now, and mailboxes being taken away, right? And reading about in how at the post office they've removing some of these high-speed mail sorting equipment. And so I'm thinking, what is it that our stories are going to do? I'm right there with whoever it was that you didn't want to name, right? What good are we doing when there's so much voter suppression going on right now? And how is our election going to work? And except that I really do hope that our stories are sort of a call to action. We're drawing people's attention, and yet I hope that we're drawing their attention enough that people will fight
It's like the mothers in Portland that came together as a ring to protect the Black Lives Matter marchers and protesting, the funding of the police and so forth. That it was, or the mothers of La Plaza in Argentina. These old dowdy ladies who had lost sons, daughters, family members, and some who hadn't. And they were mothers that, mothers are sacred in these countries and communities and in this culture. And they didn't want to touch them because there would be such an outcry. So even in their vulnerability and supposed powerlessness, they went out and they marched and they walked and there is a way in which there's a long tradition that again has been silenced of women really protecting their communities and making a big noise, as the African American shout outs in churches went, make a big noise and don't step back and be silent. So I think, the encouragement of seeing artists do it and feeling inspired and moved to think about, maybe you're not a storyteller, maybe you're not a dancer, but there's ways that you can be an activist that will involve being creative. And that's your art, to think of ways in your community to creatively make sure that we're taking care of each other. I think that's the way we have to think. Because there's going to be all kinds of machinations of trying to suppress and silence. But as women, we're used to that, of that kind of suppression and silencing. As we were talking, the vote, the 19th Amendment, it's not that long ago. So there's a long tradition of being silenced, and we cannot let that pull us back at all.
100 years is the blink of an eye.
I know.
And I feel like we are making somewhat of history here, and just want to continue to provide a platform for those voices.
Thank you, everybody, and gracias.
See you on the streets and see you at the polls.
Women sew the fabric of our world every day. History of violence made it through. The stories that we share will live on, and so we say these truths are our gifts passed on to you.